What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Underleveled. My name is Taka, and today we have this brand new, unopened Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. Are these still worth it in 2021, or are there just better, cheaper options out there? Well, we're going to take a closer look at this, as well as taking a closer look at its competitors to see if it's still worth it. So let's get to it. So the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller was released in 2017 at the same time as the Nintendo Switch, and back then, there just wasn't much competition out there. This was, and still is, the only controller that Nintendo manufactures, excluding the Smash Bros. GameCube controller. But when this was released, it was $70. That was pretty intimidating. But fast forward to 2021, and that price tag still hasn't budged. It's still a frightening $70. But now there's just so many other options out there. So the question is this still really worth it? Alright, so here we have the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller, and here we have what's probably known as their closest competitor, PowerA. Now these controllers are officially licensed by Nintendo, and the wireless version, like these, will set you back about $50, saving you $20 at the end of the day. And that's quite a bit of savings. So we're going to take a look at the pros and cons of both these controllers, and hopefully by the end of this video, it'll help you decide whether you feel the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller is still worth getting in 2021. Alright, so right off the bat, the feel of the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller, it feels like quality. If I were to close my eyes, 10 out of 10 times, I'd be able to tell which one was the more expensive product. And they're both made of plastic, but the Pro Controller, you can really feel it's more premium, better quality, better built. This one, a little lighter, cheaper plastic, and if I were to shake it, I mean, it sounds like a musical instrument, a symphony of rattling buttons. Unlike this. Just the buttons, the joysticks, the D-pad, they feel better, far more quiet than this. I like this. Maybe the reason why the PowerA controller is so noisy is because it has 3 extra rattling buttons on the back compared to the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. Now this is PowerA's #1 standout feature, and I love this feature. These 2 buttons can be mapped to any button on the controller. It just makes life so much easier, especially when playing games like Breath of the Wild or Luigi's Mansion. I love it. While the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller doesn't have 2 rear mappable buttons, what it does have is an NFC Reader, which the PowerA controller does not. It's pretty cool to be able to scan in amiibos and my Animal Crossing amiibo cards right on the controller, but I don't find myself using this feature very often compared to the rear buttons on the PowerA controller, but it's still pretty cool. Another cool feature that the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller has that the PowerA doesn't is that around the home button, it'll light up blue when you have a notification. And it's a really small detail, but sometimes it's those small details that really make me happy. Now let's take a look at the battery, starting with the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. It has a 1300 milliamp battery, chargeable with the included USB Type-C cord. To fully charge, it takes around 5 to 6 hours, and you can get around 30 to 40 hours worth of playtime out of a charge. For PowerA, you have a couple of options. You have one that uses AA batteries, and another one that uses a 900 milliamp internal rechargeable battery. Now, they both have the pros and cons. For example, the rechargeable battery one, it uses less AA batteries, which is great, but it has far less cool designs than the one that uses AA batteries. Now, since the battery is smaller than the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller one, it only gets about 15 to 25 hours worth of play on a single charge. But I decided to go with the AA version because I really love all the cool designs that they have. While both the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller and the PowerA controller offer gyro motion controls, only the Pro Controller offers HD rumble. The PowerA controllers do not. Now, whether rumble is important is up to you. For me personally, I don't use it very often, but it's still nice to have if I ever do want to turn it on. One thing that disappointed me about the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller is that even though we just bought this for this video, it still uses Bluetooth 3.0, while the PowerA controllers are using Bluetooth 5.0. Now, I tested both of them out and I found no connectivity problems, but it's still a little disappointing. There is one feature that I wish both of these controllers had, and that would be a power switch of some kind. Oftentimes when I'm done playing and I put my controller down, if something were to accidentally press a button, it automatically turns on the controller and start seeking a device. Now, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but if it keeps happening, it significantly drains the battery, which is another reason why I love these PowerA controllers that use AA batteries, because when I'm done playing, I just pop out a battery and it prevents from doing that. But a power switch of some kind would be pretty awesome. So is a Nintendo Switch Pro controller still worth it in 2021? For me personally, it is, because even though it doesn't have 2 extra mappable buttons on the back, the feel and smoothness of the buttons and the premium build quality is something I prefer over the PowerA controller. But if you want a good controller, the PowerA controllers are really good and I highly recommend them. But if you're looking for a great controller, then you might think about buying a Nintendo Switch Pro controller. But ultimately, it comes down to personal preference and what you desire in a controller. So I hope this video was informative and possibly helped you in case you were on the fence about buying a Nintendo Switch Pro controller. If you enjoyed this review video, then don't forget to hit that like, as well as subscribe and turn on the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.